It was another dazzling evening at Mar-a-Lago, where the Trump family's glamorous lifestyle was on full display. Donald Trump was basking in the attention of his supporters, his signature charisma captivating the crowd. At his side stood Melania, as elegant as ever, her serene expression unchanging, radiating quiet confidence. They appeared to be the ultimate power couple, unstoppable, untouchable. Yet beneath the glitz and smiles, cracks in their perfect facade began to emerge. Melania's smile would falter at times, her eyes darting away as Donald delivered another boastful statement. For years, she had been the silent partner in his roller coaster journey, but something about her seemed different lately. Her presence felt more distant, her responses more calculated. At the end of the evening, Donald turned to Melania. "You were great tonight, honey. They loved us," he said, placing his hand on her arm. She nodded with a faint smile but said nothing, retreating to their suite earlier than usual. Alone in the ornate bedroom, Melania stared out at the moonlit ocean, her thoughts swirling with doubts and decisions. She knew a storm was coming, one that could change everything. Behind the scenes, Melania's behavior had not gone unnoticed. A few close aides whispered about her sudden meetings outside the estate and her frequent hushed phone calls. Donald, engrossed in his political endeavors, brushed off any concerns. "She's just dealing with the media nonsense," he'd say dismissively. But Melania's secret was more significant than anyone imagined. She had been meeting with someone from her past, a man she had known long before her life with Donald. His name was Viktor, an old friend from Slovenia. Viktor had contacted her out of the blue, claiming he had information that could protect her future. Initially hesitant, Melania met Viktor in a quiet cafe far from the public eye. "You deserve more, Melania," he had told her, sliding a folder across the table. "This is about you and Baron, not him. Think about it." Melania's hands trembled as she opened the folder. It was full of documents detailing questionable financial dealings tied to Donald. Proof that could change everything. Victor's words echoed in her mind as she left the cafe, torn between loyalty and self-preservation. In the following weeks, Melania's demeanor grew even colder. She began compiling her own records, quietly consulting with lawyers under the guise of charity meetings. Her betrayal wasn't just about the documents, it was about reclaiming her independence after years of feeling like a figurehead. Donald noticed the change. "You've been distant lately," he said one night, his tone more curious than concerned. "Is something wrong?" "No, Donald," she replied, forcing a smile. "Just busy with the foundation." But her answer didn't satisfy him. He started assigning aides to discreetly follow her. And soon enough, he discovered the meetings, the legal consultations, and the man named Viktor. Donald was furious. Confronting Melania in their suite, he threw down a stack of photos taken by his investigators. "Care to explain this?" he demanded, his face red with anger. Melania, to his surprise, didn't back down. "I've sacrificed so much for you, Donald. This isn't just about you. It's about me and Baron. I won't be your shadow anymore." The news hit like a thunderstorm, rattling the already polarized nation. Melania Trump's secret meetings exposed. What is she planning? Every media outlet, from the most liberal to staunchly conservative, seized the story, dissecting every angle with relentless fervor. Speculations ranged from divorce to political sabotage, with some even suggesting a secret alliance with Donald's rivals. Melania watched the chaos unfold from her Manhattan penthouse. The once familiar world of tailored appearances and carefully controlled narratives had become unrecognizable. Baron, now a teenager, sat silently across the room, scrolling through social media on his phone. His face bore a mix of confusion and unease. "Mom," he finally said, breaking the silence, "why is everyone talking about you like this? What's going on?" Melania walked over to him, placing a hand on his shoulder. "It's complicated, Baron. Sometimes to protect yourself and the people you love, you have to make difficult decisions. This is one of those times." Donald, meanwhile, was livid. "This is a betrayal of the highest order," he ranted to his closest advisors. "The media's eating it up, and she's just sitting there silent. This isn't just about me, it's about everything we've built." His inner circle scrambled to craft a response, knowing that any misstep could escalate the already volatile situation. Publicly, they issued a statement downplaying the allegations, painting Melania's actions as misunderstood or exaggerated. Privately, Donald seethed. Melania, however, had no intention of speaking publicly. She remained a mystery, her silence fueling the media frenzy. The quiet defiance wasn't an accident. It was her way of maintaining control in a situation where so much had been taken from her. Still, the toll was evident. Anonymous threats flooded her email, and paparazzi camped outside her building. Despite the chaos, Melania remained resolute. For the first time in years, she wasn't reacting to Donald's demands or the expectations of the public. She was finally acting for herself. The air in the conference room was electric, charged with a tension that even the lawyers seated on either side couldn't ignore. Melania sat with an air of calm determination, her posture straight and her hands folded neatly on the polished table. Across from her sat Donald, his face flushed with barely concealed anger. The room was silent except for the ticking of a wall clock, each second stretching into eternity before Donald finally broke the silence. "Do you even understand what you've done, Melania?" His voice was a low growl, carrying the weight of fury and disbelief. "You've handed my enemies ammunition on a silver platter. You've betrayed everything we've built." Melania met his gaze without flinching. "What we built, Donald? Or what you built for yourself while using me as a prop? Let's be honest. This was never about us. It was always about you." The words hung in the air like a challenge, and Donald's fist came down hard on the table. His advisors flinched, exchanging uneasy glances as they scribbled notes they would likely never use. "You think this is easy for me? Everything I've done, every sacrifice I've made, was for this family, for you and Barron." Donald's voice rose, his frustration bubbling over. Melania leaned forward slightly, her voice steady. "You've confused control with sacrifice, Donald. Sacrifice isn't demanding obedience or loyalty while giving nothing in return. Sacrifice is choosing love over power, and I won't let Barron grow up thinking this is normal." Donald's expression shifted briefly, an almost imperceptible crack in his facade. But it was gone in an instant. "You're naive if you think you'll come out of this unscathed. The press will tear you apart. They already have." "I don't care," Melania shot back. "For the first time in years, I'm not afraid. I don't need your name or your money. What I need is my freedom and Barron's." The argument dragged on, spiraling through accusations, grievances, and denials. Donald threw everything he had at her, but Melania stood her ground. When the meeting finally adjourned, Donald stormed out without a backward glance. Melania remained seated for a moment, the weight of the confrontation settling over her. Her lawyer placed a reassuring hand on her shoulder. "You did well," he said. Melania nodded, exhaling deeply. She knew the hardest part was still to come, but for the first time she felt the chains begin to loosen. Months had passed since the public fallout, but the world was far from forgetting. Headlines about the high-profile divorce still popped up occasionally, accompanied by polarizing commentary. Some painted Melania as a brave woman reclaiming her life, while others labeled her a traitor to the legacy she'd been part of. Yet Melania cared little for public opinion now. She had spent too many years living in its shadow. Her new life in Manhattan was a stark contrast to the gilded existence she had left behind. The sprawling penthouse was smaller than the Trump Tower residence, but felt infinitely larger to her soul. Minimalist yet cozy, it was a reflection of her new identity, uncluttered and free. Melania had channeled her energy into building a foundation to support women and children facing systemic barriers. The initiative was ambitious, but it gave her purpose. For the first time, her public role wasn't defined by someone else's ambitions, but by her own values. One evening, as the sun set over the Manhattan skyline, Barron joined her on the balcony. He had grown into a thoughtful and articulate young man, his confidence blooming away from the pressures of his father's orbit. "Mom," he said, breaking the silence, "I know people say a lot of things about us, about you, but I'm glad you did what you did. It wasn't easy, but it was right." Melania turned to him, her eyes softening. "It's never easy to break free from something you've known for so long, Barron. But I did it for you as much as for me. You deserve to grow up knowing you can choose your own path." Meanwhile, Donald had thrown himself into his political endeavors, doubling down on his fiery rhetoric to distract from the personal loss. Publicly, he was defiant, But those closest to him saw the wear in his eyes. The man who had once seemed untouchable now appeared more human than ever, flawed and burdened by the consequences of his choices. As Melania sipped her tea, she felt a sense of peace she hadn't known in years. The city lights twinkled around her, a reminder of the boundless possibilities ahead. For the first time, her life was hers to shape, and she intended to make it count.